Hi, greetings and welcome. Welcome back to all my regular viewers of this autobiography of my fishing life. As I said, I've come a long way now from a young lad, catching eels on the river, coming through my teenagers and my early 20s. I'm now reaching my late 30s, coming up to 40s. So you would think I'm in the height of my skills now, I would think. Anyway, coming back to 1993 on CORUCHE in Portugal. Now, coming back to Portugal had fond memories for me, as it wasn't long ago, in fact, that just 6 years previously that I was crowned world champion, and on the River Mondego in Cumbria, which I suppose is classified as northern Portugal, even though it's on the west coast. But this year's venue was much different. The River Mondego, which was a natural river with natural banks, but the River CORUCHE in Portugal is much more man-made, and we found that the banks were very steep indeed. They were very sandy. However, we were fortunate to have had a glimpse of the venue and its fishing conditions from a previous video made by Dave Taylor, which was the Irish team manager at that time. Now, Dave had been fishing in a previous festival only a few months before the World Championships, and this video was immense help, as we made sure the Welsh team was well prepared with levelling platforms and, for the steep banks. And because of the nature of the venue, with lots of carp, bearing in mind that this was before the advent of commercial fisheries, Doug Hornblow, in his astute awareness, included within the team one of our top Welsh anglers in Dennis O'Leary from Merthyr Tydfil in the Welsh Valleys. Now, Dennis had already proved himself worthy of the team when he was catching huge weights of carp, and also huge bags on the River Wye. I believe he won the Wye Championships twice. And we thought, like, with his big fish experience, we thought it would show through. Anyway, Dennis, who had been catching his big weights of carp on his home lake back in the UK, he perfected a method for casting and twitching the float on the surface. So with that, so the bait was constantly moving and obviously spraying the bait. And we thought, well, that in mind, that could be a good method to try. Anyway, as it worked out, it worked very well indeed on this venue. However, not everyone seemed to get the hang of it, including me really. Now, Dennis proving that his method was working well for him. When it came to the first stage fishing, Dennis drew next to Bobby Smithers of Ireland, who was already a world champion, and he actually beat him off the next peg. So, just to prove that Dennis had this method, well and truly sussed. Now, overall, the two-day competition was a bit disappointing affair for the team and myself, and England, in fact. I don't think not a single angler at home showed any form in the final and wasn't in the final frame at all. The Welsh team, nevertheless, managed to top the 10th place, which by any standards was very good, Perhaps Doug Hornblow, the new Welsh manager, finally realised that the competition on the world stage was not as easy as he thought, whereby team plans did not always work. Because as I said, we started fishing team plans as a team, and well, it just didn't work out. And I've always been a great advocate that if the angler should be left on his own resources, if he's good enough to fish for the country, then he should be able to work out plans himself. Okay, you start off on a team plan and you hope that works for everybody, but if it doesn't, you don't stick on it, you change. And I've been, unfortunately, perhaps I may have been a bit of an individual, but it didn't really matter because I'd always produce the results at the end of the match. And I think this is something that Doug and any more predecessors didn't quite fully understand. Anyway, I have to tell you this because I didn't see it, because Doug, being a good friend, over the years, and my travelling partner for a few years, my good friend Clive Roberts, who I've known since childhood, he mentioned to me that he believed that Doug was talking, and he had alternative ideas, and perhaps he fancied himself to fish in the team. Now, more about that later. Anyway, one of the highlights for me was actually meeting up with some of the Spanish and Portuguese anglers from the years past. Still remembering and reminiscing me as Mr. Waggler and the family that I made friends with 6 years ago. They just turned up at the match, and they just had a little girl, a little baby boy, little baby, boy and girl, and they actually honoured my wife. They called her Patricia, which is a great honour for her. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, I'll leave you a letter actually. Well, I've had as I said, I was getting letters from these Portuguese people, and they're a great bunch of people, great anglers. I don't think Portugal had their results, later on in the years. So did Spain. In fact, Spain became one of the top nations later on, and perhaps I'm hoping that maybe my Waggler methods may have shown them the way. Yeah. So anyway, I've got to tell you that actually Barcos from Portugal become the individual winner using the Waggler method. So fantastic for him. So it may have rubbed off. There was a chap from Holland named Sakwil from Holland. He was second, and there was a French guy named Bodney, the third. I shall put them down on the end of the results so you can actually see their proper name. Whether I had the correct pronunciation, I don't know. But anyway, Italy come away as winners. France was second. Austria, which I mentioned before, long-range Waggler fishing, come third. So that was a good result for those. Unfortunately, England, Wales bombed out. So that was the result. Now, I'll leave it at that now on this vlog. It is a short vlog, because there's not really that much to say, except that, of course, I got a feeling that things were coming true, what Clive Roberts mentioned about Doug wanting to become a team member rather than the manager. Don't look good. Anyway, next year it's on the Nottingham home pier point back in England. It's 1994. Now this, in fact, turned out to be a very good match indeed for the home countries. Well, England anyway. More about that on the next one. I'll see you on the next one.